Greetings, Arts Beatniks. It's the KC Arts Beat Report. I'm Patrick Neas. Thanks for joining me today. You know, Kansas City has so many jazz icons, and we're going to be talking about one of the biggest, if not the biggest, with Clint Ashlock, who's the artistic director of the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, which is an icon in itself. They have a great big celebration coming up of Charlie Parker to start off their new season. But before we get to that, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And please subscribe to us on Substack and follow us on Facebook, where every day we post lots of great information about the arts in Kansas City. And now it's time to say hello to our good friend Clint Ashlock. I haven't talked to you for several months over the summer. I hope you've been well, Clint.
Very well. I have two teenage daughters, and so I'm just hanging on for dear life to their waning childhood before they go off to college. So spent a lot of time with them this summer, and kind of sad to see them back in school, but things move along. So
They sure do. And so does the music, and so do these
yeah.
seasons. What season is this upcoming season going to be for you guys?
What would it be? 2023, maybe?
Wow.
23. I should know that
Oh,
by heart, but I don't.
no, that's all right. But you've been around for a long time now, and you've become an important part of the Kansas City music scene. And you really are, to me, sort of like what the Academy of Ancient Music is to Baroque music and classical music. You are the Kansas City Jazz, sort of yeah, I mean, I know not exactly, but you preserve it, you honor it, you try to cherish those traditions, and you have a great concert coming up that does just that, a celebration of Charlie Parker. Now, Kansas City has so many jazz icons, you know, Count Basie, Benny Moten, Mary Lou Parker, Jay McShann. Where you think it's possible to rank them in importance, and where would Charlie Parker fit in that ranking?
No, it's impossible to do a ranking system. But I would say that, you know, Charlie Parker, along with Dizzy Gillespie and Thelonious Monk and Kenny Clark, um, they created the melodic the melodic harmonic language that we still use today to improvise and to compose in jazz, which was, you know, their music, which was called bebop, and it's a way of creating melodies that flow through chord changes and take advantage of dissonance and consonance in the melodic line and along with the harmonies um, and really Charlie Parker in the Ken Burns jazz series. Uh, you know, Stanley Crouch is a jazz writer. He said that um, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk created the bricks, which were the chords and the way that the melodies fit with the chords. Um, and Charlie Parker, with his swing and his blues influence stuff that he got from Kansas City, he was the mortar that built the wall. And he said before Bird, they just had some really interesting bricks, and Charlie Parker brought the mortar. And I always thought that was really fascinating to think of it that way. And I would agree with that. I think the contributions that Bird brought to not just jazz music, but American music, world music, is just so deep, and we take it for granted in every genre of music because it's all informed by Charlie Parker at this point on some level. So I don't want to rank them, but I would say Charlie Parker would be on the Mount Rushmore of jazz musicians for sure. Uh, and it always feels good to pay tribute to him. I mean, which we do just by playing this music, we pay tribute to Charlie Parker, but to be intentional about it with this citywide festival and then with our concert, I think it's very meaningful, and I'm looking forward to it quite a bit.
And this concert is at 7 p.m. August 23rd at the Folly Theater. And for tickets, go to kcjo.org. Now, speaking of jazz icons, it's really great. You're going to have another jazz icon paying tribute to Parker. Tell us about your special guest.
So we've got a person who probably doesn't need to be described much other than his name, Lonnie McFadden, who is one of the great ambassadors of Kansas City jazz music that our city has ever seen. He's a wonderful entertainer. He is a devoted musician, and his spirit just resonates with anybody who hears him and sees him. And Lonnie is admittedly not a bebop musician. I mean, he's not a Charlie Parker clone. He knows Parker's music very deeply, which might surprise people who think of him more of as a swing player, or I don't know how you would genreize Lonnie McFadden, but he knows Bird's music deeply, and he suggested that we explore um, the Kansas City connection with Charlie Parker's music through Lonnie's musicianship and his performance. And so last year we did. It was just big band. We didn't have any guest artists, and we just arranged Charlie Parker's music, um, in our own kind of big band style. And there's a little bit of that on the first set. It's all big band stuff, but in the second set, it's kind of Lonnie's artistic take on what it means to be a Kansas City musician. Just as Charlie Parker was a Kansas City musician. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of the impetus behind the evening's music, and so far it's pretty awesome. I'm really excited for how we traverse this great figure's music through our own voices together.
For those who aren't familiar with Lonnie McFadden, what instrument does he play?
He plays the trumpet, he sings, and he is a virtuosic tap dancer.
Will there be any tap dancing part
There
of
will be. There
it?
will be. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't really
You'll have to
associate.
come to the show to see it, but yeah, he will be tap dancing. Um, I guess an Easter egg before the concert, not to give it away, but if people are interested, um, the legendary tap dancer Baby Lawrence also tap danced to Charlie Parker music. And
Oh,
so
really?
if people want a homework assignment, they can research that. And it's not going to be exactly the same way, but there is a song that's out there that we will be doing just a big band version of, instead of a small group version, which Baby Lawrence did.
Wow. I'm unfamiliar with Baby Lawrence. I'm going to definitely look he or she up. I don't know. Is it a boy or a girl?
Baby Lawrence, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, that sounds intriguing because you really do not associate tap dancing with Charlie Parker. Uh, can you tell us why he was nicknamed Bird?
Um, I'm not sure that that's my story to tell, and I'm sure the one that I know might be fairly apocryphal. But I did uh, the story that I had heard. I asked Jay McShann personally, um, like if this story was even close, and Jay corroborated it. So I'm guessing it's accurate. Or maybe he was just being nice, and that's not at all how Charlie Parker got his nickname. But um, the story that I had heard was that he was in Jay's band, which was considered a territory band, and so they would
What is
play.
that? Yeah.
So they would there were the territories in around Kansas City and throughout the Midwest. Um, there would be bands that would kind of satellite outward and play, in. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly these towns, but outside of Kansas City. I mean, Topeka or Lawrence or Muskogee, Oklahoma, where Jay was from, or these different places. And so they were kind of called the territory bands. And I'm sure I screwed up the history. You should ask Chuck Haddix. He would give you the correct answer.
He wrote the
I'm
book
just,
literally on
he
birds.
literally wrote the book. I'm just breathing the same air as Chuck every once in a while. But so anyway, um, uh, the word was that they would drive, they would stay in folks' houses as they were out on the road, and they would drive through these little farms or townships or whatever. And the car that Charlie Parker was in hit, they drove through some chickens that ran out in the road, and they called them yard birds. And they picked up one of the chickens on Charlie Parker's request, and took it into whatever house they were staying in. And he asked the lady of the house if she would make him a whole chicken, and he ate it. And they started calling him Yard Bird or Yard, and that's how he got his nickname. Now, I mean, I think that's a pretty cool story, um, but I didn't know how accurate it was, and I didn't ask Jay for details, but I was like, I heard this kind of story about how Charlie Parker got his nickname. Is that right? And he was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm taking that as, as a confirmation. No
Well,
Charlie Parker, pun intended, but I don't know for sure. That seemed like a good one, I
I
guess.
say let's go with it, Clint.
Yeah.
I like it. No, that's great. Now, for people who aren't deep into jazz and who might just be kind of dipping their toes into it right now, how is there? I mean, this is a difficult question, but how would you describe Charlie Parker's music as distinct from what came before him? Like, the swing band stuff. I know he was part of that too, but I also know that he was a revolutionary in jazz. What made him a revolutionary?
Well, I would say Charlie Parker and the bebop musicians, it was revolutionary and evolutionary. Um, just like, and I'll get to the revolutionary part in a second. I swear I'm not trying to take up your time, but
Oh,
um, you know how Bach's music uh, evolved with the way that his melodies sort of became a lot more spun out, in longer phrases. I mean, you think of just the endless melodic lines of Bach, 16th notes and different things that would lead into a bar and then jump off of the downbeat of a measure and then spin off for another measure, four or eight. And that's a lot of what the beboppers were doing. They were taking, the music of the swing era, this melodic music that referenced the melody, and they were spinning out these longer phrases that were more um, connected to the scales that go along with the chords, and the chords being the underlying harmony of a song. Um, and so it's really just kind of a natural evolution of how melody works. Um, and you can hear Louis Armstrong and Ben Webster and Coleman Hawkins predict this in their playing. Um, the beboppers sort of um, streamlined it and made the dissonances a certain way, and the extensions in a chord, root 3 5 7. Well, they would add ninths, but on a dominant chord they would alter the ninths, or they would sharp the 11ths, or different things to create more ebb and flow in the music. And then the revolution, I suppose, of the bebop musicians were, um, as swing music got so um, almost regimentalized. It was so popular, and the dance bands. If you weren't in Count Basie or Duke Ellington or Benny Goodman, or bands that really celebrated creativity, a lot of the dance bands that people would make their living in playing in, um, they were kind of expected to play sort of the same solos or not take too many risks, and kind of famously Dizzy Gillespie. Um, he would play these solos in different swing bands, and he would play the way that he wanted to play, and he would be chastised for it by these great big band leaders because it was too complex. People didn't want to dance to it because the rhythms were different. And so after their gig was over, their dance gig, the bebop musician, the I keep calling them bebop musicians, but the soloists would go to these smaller clubs in New York on 52nd Street, these basement clubs where there was no dancing, or to a jam session at Minton's Playhouse, um, or a chili parlor or whatever, and then they would play the way that they wanted to play, um, with no dancing, with no restrictions. Uh, and so it was a little revolutionary in that sense, that there was kind of like rebelling against the tyranny of popular taste, is a quote that I really liked, that I heard someone say. Um, and so yeah, I mean, so evolutionary and revolutionary at the same time.
Well, staying with your last point there about the music, I know that people listen to these swing bands for their music, but they were part of that, as you say, club culture of the day. People were there to dance, not necessarily to listen. And it seems like Parker and the other early bebop musicians turned jazz into a genre of music to be listened to.
Mhm.
And I think that was pretty. Would you agree with that? Or was that? I mean, that's sort of like what
Yeah,
you're saying. Going to these smaller clubs where people didn't come to dance; they came to listen.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's those same small clubs on 52nd Street that I was talking about, in the jam sessions at Minton's or whatever. And I mean, there are great old photographs from the time period in those little clubs that say Lindy hopping strictly prohibited and stuff like that. you
Wow.
know. And so and it became more about the freedom of expression, which defined jazz. I mean, jazz is freedom of expression. That's what it originally was. That's what it maintained. I mean, everyone that we still talk about, Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong and Sidney Bechet, and there was never a lack of a freedom of expression in the music. But as more bands and more venues started to commercialize it, um, I think Bird and Diz and Monk and Mary Lou and those folks really. Uh, I mean, that's kind of why you choose to play this music, and they certainly did that, and that's why. I mean, one of the big reasons why we talk about 52nd Street today as being this kind of mecca of this incubator of creative jazz music, and it certainly led it down the path of what it is today, which I think is certainly much more of an art music, more of a creative, abstract thing, which I mean, we need that in our lives as people, in an increasingly literal society, where the music is literal, and the literature and the films are more and more literal. That abstraction that we get that really make us think in great art, was certainly um, fostered by the musicians of Bird's era.
It seems like Bird and those guys really put jazz on the same level with Western classical music as far as an art form to take seriously, to sit down and really listen to and explore its complexities and its deeper meanings. Um, and we should all be grateful to Charlie Parker for that because what a rich legacy all those revolutionary artists have left us. And it's great that you're going to be celebrating him. Can you tell us anything about the concert? What to expect more?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of split into two halves. The first half is just the big band, and we are playing. Um, I mean, all instrumental stuff. We're playing a couple things were arranged back in the early 50s that Charlie Parker actually is recorded on playing. I think um, Joe Lippman was the arranger. And so a couple standards that Bird played over night and day, and I Can't Get Started. Um, and that, I mean, there's a lot of saxophone features on this concert. And so our altos, Dave Shale and Bob Long and Brett Jackson's playing baritone saxophone, and they're all getting some solos on those tunes. I've arranged "Relax in a Camarillo," which is a Charlie Parker composition. We've got Steve Decker and Brad Gregory, who are both great arrangers in the band. They did "I'll Remember April" and "Autumn in New York," which are standard tunes that Charlie Parker played over. Um, Dave Aberg arranged Yardbird Suite, kind of as a funk shuffle thing, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to take an intermission, and Lonnie will join us for the whole second set. And it's kind of an expansion of how he celebrates Charlie Parker at his club, Lonnie's Reno Club, with his quartet, but expanded for big band. So, there's a song by Weather Report called Birdland, which was written for the club Birdland that was named after Charlie Parker, which Bird kind of infamously got banned from entering.
Why, what's the story on that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to get into that. But
Okay.
read Chuck's book for that one. But so we're going to go through Lonnie's kind of storytelling of Charlie Parker, and he's going to demonstrate how Bird and the different bebop musicians would take an existing tune like "How High the Moon," which was a Tin Pan Alley standard, and you could copyright a melody, but you couldn't copyright a chord progression. So the bebop musicians would write a new melody over an existing chord progression. So instead of "Somewhere There's Music, I'll fake the tune," you'd have and Lonnie kind of shows that, you
Uh-huh.
know. Um,
That was very cool, by
and
the way.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, and so we're gonna do stuff like that. We're gonna do "A Night in Tunisia," which is a Dizzy Gillespie tune that Bird loved to play over. Um, the aforementioned song, the tap dancing song, and I think we might try and close things out, the encore, with a little jam session over one of Charlie Parker's favorite standards. Um, that features the whole band. So
Wow.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and certainly a celebration of Charlie Parker, but also a celebration of just this music that we all share together, thanks to figures like Charlie Parker who created it.
It's also like an early birthday celebration for Charlie Parker, too, because
It
his
is.
birthday's on August 29th, I believe.
It is.
But
And a literal birthday celebration for Bobby Watson, even though he's not going to be at this concert. But the 23rd is Bobby's birthday. So
oh,
uh,
okay.
happy birthday to Bobby, who I think is going to be 72 on Saturday.
Oh, terrific. Well, happy birthday, Bobby Watson, another
Yeah.
Kansas City jazz icon.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be great. 7 p.m., August 23rd at the Folly Theater, a great venue for a concert like this.
Yeah. It'll be great.
And the tickets are 28 to $80. And for tickets and more information, go to kcjo.org. That's like Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, kcjo.org. Lonnie McFadden and the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, led by Clint Ashlock. It's got to be good, especially when you're doing a tribute to Charlie Parker. And what a great way to start off your new season, too. And best wishes on everything that's to come. I hope we can talk more about everything that's on the way.
Thank you so much. We're definitely looking forward to getting into it, and yeah, kicking off whatever number this season is, 23, whatever we're looking at.
Yes. Well, it's kind of good you don't know. It shows that into it, you're not keeping track of anything. You're just it wouldn't be very jazzy to know what anniversary year it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're in it and you're doing it, and then you move on to the next one.
Well,
God
thank you.
willing, you know.
Well, thanks so much, Clint Ashlock, artistic director, music director of the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra. It's always a blast talking to you.
Thank
And
you,
if you'd
Patrick.
like to spread the word about, the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra and jazz, please share this video and like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, please subscribe to KC Arts Beat on Substack. Follow us on Facebook. We have lots of great information about the arts every day there as well. Until next time, this is the KC Arts Beat Report. I'm Patrick Neas.